In 2018, Matt and his wife Amy were woken up in the middle of the night by their son writhing in abdominal pain. As soon as they took him to the ER, Western medicine said that he was a healthy young man, and after 4 visits to the ER, they had no more answers than what they started with. Matt eventually, however, connected a moldy window in his son's room to the symptoms his son was having, and he started studying mold around the clock. On today's episode, I'm having on special guest Matt Kelly, functional health practitioner, onto the Better Belly podcast to come and personally tell the story of his family's journey through a hell of sickness, getting no answers from conventional medicine, finding out mold was at the center of it all, and popping out on the other side with, dare I say it, a happy ending. I've personally had the honor to get to know Matt through a variety of connections. He's mentored me through some of my very first clients with Lyme disease, and I've gotten to absorb his wisdom and passion for healing clients from mold just by being in his amazing Toxic Mold Answers Facebook group, which has exploded in the number of people it serves over just the last few years. I am so excited to introduce you to Matt and his family's incredible story of struggle, defeat, and triumph. If you've been discouraged on your journey to heal your body from mold, Lyme, or if you don't even know what is making you sick, then it's time to dive into the story of hope about how one family escaped from mold and Lyme and how you can too. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormones, skin, sleep, and brain concerns. Literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. Hey Matt, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm so excited for today.
I am too. I've been looking anytime I can talk about gut stuff or mold, I'm happy. And your gut and I love mold, and you put the two together, we're going to have hopefully people find it quite interesting because it's two hot topics. And the more people learn, the more people go down the healing path, the more each of these topics come up. And you can't avoid them. I wish we could avoid them, but so many people cannot avoid them. And that's why I love people who are passionate about it, like you and I, coming in and helping people.
And that's why we're going to talk about it because unfortunately, and specifically for mold, that is this for some people in their healing journey, they realize that's one of their unavoidable topics. And
Yeah.
as a reminder, your podcast episode is the last in our Mold Month series. It's not the last time we'll ever talk about
Is it
mold.
good or bad? Is it good or bad to be last?
Oh, it's amazing. Well,
Oh, okay,
because I've been
good.
going through this whole process and talking about the symptoms mold creates and a mold treatment plan, and you're the story of hope. Like you are you are helping people heal, but I really wanted to have you on today because I've had the opportunity to get to know your story of how you went through the same place that everyone starts in of like, oh my gosh, somebody in my family is really sick, or maybe it's you, I'm really sick.
Yeah.
And no one can figure out why. And I feel like I'm in the depths of despair, but you're now on the other side. And so, Matt, you are here on the podcast today to talk about a story of hope. That is like the whole point. And it's your story. So can you just tell us, were you born out of the womb knowing about mold? And if not, how did you enter into this conversation? What was that journey
Yeah.
like for you?
I wish I was, because it would have saved a lot of time and money. And like everyone, I knew nothing about mold. I thought I knew what mold was. I thought you would bleach it I didn't know anything. And that's what took our journey, which I'll dive into here, and made it cost so much and take so long because we don't know. Because our experts on both sides, our medical doctors know about a mold allergy, not mold toxicity. On the mold side, our mold inspectors do air testing, not ERMIs, and they can keep sick people in toxic homes with inadequate testing. So even when you get down this mold path and you start asking questions about mold, you have the professionals on each side complicating it, to say it the nicest way, complicating it. Okay. So I knew nothing. And our son, Isaac, he was 10 at the time. It was January 16th of 2018. We had no warning signs. Okay. A lot of times you have warning signs. You have kids with gut issues or skin issues or behavior issues showing that something's cooking. We had no signs. And this is the worst when you go from 0 to 100. And Isaac, like his four sisters, we have 5 kids, went to bed that night on January 15th of 2018. Fine. We had no worries, no concerns. And Amy and I were woken up in the night. Isaac was standing at the end of our bed, holding his abdomen and crying, bent over. And we jump up and we're like, what in the world's happening? And we waited a few minutes. Is it getting better? Is it not getting better? And no, it's not getting better. It's in the winter, So I'm like, what do I do? And I decided I'm just throw him in the vehicle. And we went to Children's Hospital Emerge. Had to carry him in. He was in so much pain. And they checked everything they could. They did a urine test, they did an x-ray, they did this and that. Everything looked fine. He was a healthy young man. And we go home, but now he's feeling worse. He's dizzy, he's still in pain. Nothing's going away. Now, what it was, spoiler alert, it was a mast cell flare in the small intestine. And
But it
I
took
didn't
you,
know.
what, months? Was it years? How long did
It
it take
was,
you to
we
figure that out?
wasted 9 months in our
Okay.
medical system
Ah,
before I pulled the plug and said, obviously, nothing good is coming here. The
yes.
attempts they made by wanting to give him PPIs and steroids and things made him worse. Okay, so I made 4 trips to the ER with him in the first month. And in the last trip, um, the young doctor came to the bed. Isaac's literally curled up in a ball, finally getting some sleep because the problem was he had mold in his room. But I didn't know anything about mold.
And the
So he's
hospital
in the
doesn't have any
hospital.
mold.
Well, a lot of them do, but
I
this
was gonna
one
say,
hopefully
actually,
was
that
okay.
is not always true, but
Yeah, and he was curled up in a ball, finally starting to sleep because he couldn't sleep at night because this histamine increase causing this mast cell flare, causing this extreme pain in his abdomen. So he's laying there under my hoodie, my giant hoodie on this little 10-year-old. Couldn't even see him. And the young doctor walks up, is a teaching hospital. He walks up, doesn't say hi, hey Isaac, how's it going, buddy? Hey, Mr. Kelly, can you tell me? He walks up and goes, I'm not your guy. I've looked at his file. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing I can do. And then he brings back the senior doc who takes me to across the hall into a room where they explain I need to stop thinking about the body and think about the mind. Because it's all in his head, right? So we have this 10-year-old boy that's in extreme pain, can't stand up straight, can hardly walk. He's turning red under his eyes. He's dizzy. He's nauseous. It feels like I looked in my own notes because I'm the type of person that records everything, needs to know everything. This is why I do this. And he put it feels like, quote, it feels like there's a knife coming out of my skin. That's what he wrote. And I thought it was his appendix bursting, like I said, but we had a colonoscopy done. We had an endoscopy done. We had ultrasound, x-ray. I had to take him to, well, Detroit, not too far from you, to get an MRI done because our doc wouldn't do one. So I had to go across, change countries to
yeah,
go
because
pay
he's in
for one.
Canada, guys.
Yes, yes. Look here, A. And we did everything and nothing could be found. And that's why our trailer on the documentary is called Healthy Young Man, because that's what I was repeatedly told. At best, the pediatric gastroenterologist said he likely tore a little muscle, tore some fascia there in his abdomen. He's seen it before, don't worry. And I can make you a referral to the hospital psychologist, but that's a 3-month wait. And by the time 3 months comes, you'll forget this even happened. And I said, why then, when he eats or drinks certain things, does he burst into tears? If he has a vinaigrette on a salad, within 5 minutes, he'd be in tears. We were squeezing fresh lemon juice into our grape juice. And he was using that to take his pills, his vitamins and things, supplements that I was giving him to try to, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was trying. And he would burst into tears. And I said to the pediatric gastroenterologist, I said, why, when he eats or drinks certain things, does he burst into tears if it's a muscle? If it's a tore muscle, how does this make any sense to you? And he'd just wave and laugh and go, oh, oh, oh. we just hope it all heals up together. And wouldn't even listen to me. And as a
They don't have
parent,
anything to say. And that,
how can you
yeah,
be a gastroenterologist and not know anything about histamine issues and how it affects the gut? I just feel devastated for the people, and especially children, that go through this, and with these specialists that know nothing about this major problem. So we spent 9 months in the system with him crashing, getting worse. His fatigue was out of this world. And as parents, it's so crushing, scary, frustrating, angering, every emotion you can think of when you have a sick child and you don't know why. And the experts don't know. And it just drove me crazy because I'm just like, I can't sleep at night. I'm
you feel
researching.
powerless.
You
Yeah.
feel powerless. You're researching. And I used to call myself the dad gone mad because I was so frustrated and I was unstoppable and trying to figure this out. So finally, after 9 months, it was clear that nothing good was coming out of the system. And it was clear that nothing was physically wrong with him. Otherwise, it would have shown up because we had done all the tests that made them feel like nothing was wrong. But then I wondered about Lyme disease. So then I ordered a muscle testing kit, like vials of Lyme disease, the mini one, maybe 30 vials or so, not the gigantic one, for like $100. And I still remember the day, Allison, because it came in the mail and I was excited. And I went upstairs and I was starting to wonder if mold was an issue. I switched him with his sister, which is still awful. So now I took her and put her in his room uh, and put him in her room to see.
This
But
is
he
just
was,
from your research. You're like, maybe mold's a
yes,
thing, but you're like,
yeah, but I
not to
don't really know
testing.
anything
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. And you're
Yes.
actually like kind of, you nailed on Lyme first of
Yeah.
like, we're
So
going to test this sucker.
exactly. So he's sitting there. I still picture him on the teal desk of his sister's playing Fortnite. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, bud, can I muscle test you?" And at 10 years old, they just say yes to everything, right? He's like, "Okay." And I was like, "Okay, bud, stand up here, hold this, and then don't let me push your arm down." And it's strong, strong, and then we get weak. And we went through that kit, and we had about 4 or 5, maybe super weak. And I took all those, put them in his hand, and said, "Okay, bud, watch this." And his arm just like fell. So I was excited for Lyme disease, Allison. Who's excited for Lyme disease? But I
Because
didn't
it's
know
something. It gives you a
it
target
was
to point
something.
at.
Exactly. As a parent, you're like, okay, I've got an answer. It's Lyme disease. And I didn't know a lot about Lyme disease, honestly. So I didn't know how bad Lyme disease can be. So now I'm going, okay, it's Lyme disease. And I found a clinic in Wichita and I took him there for 3 weeks and spent about $30,000 to go there. And he started feeling a little bit better while we were there. And they were doing great energetic testing and work and things. We were working on liver, gallbladder, and stuff. But one day, as Doc was doing hand mode testing like CPK, Chiro plus kinesiology, he said to me, mold's coming up as priority in his gut. And I'm like, that is so weird. But I'm sitting with my laptop, right? Because I need to know everything. So I'm just and I feel bad for him. And Dr. Jameson, he's an amazing guy. He works out of Tennessee now. He's amazing. But I would every 5 minutes I'd be like, "What'd you find there? What'd you find?" And I'm just pounding keys, right? So we spent our 3 weeks there. Isaac was doing some better. I thought that we were now going to be fine. This was the end of the story. So we go back home. I'm not even in the house yet. Isaac goes in the house to throw his book bag in. I'm outside talking to the girls, talking to Amy. Isaac comes back out and goes, "Dad, I got dizzy." And I'm like, "No," like slow motion, no, right? But I'm like, okay, stop, wait, analyze. What does this tell me? Tells me it's our house. Something in our house is bothering him. And I knew he had mold in his window, Allison. It's not like I didn't know. In between the panes of glass, there was mold growing. And I knew it. And I was like, one day, funds permitting, I'll get these changed. You always put off what you can put off. And now I go, Doc just told me mold is a priority in his gut. He's got mold in his window.
And you went in
Now
the
you
house.
you really couldn't stop me now. So now it was just insane research. And I learned about mycotoxins because I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know where to go I knew nothing. So this journey now, this was like you just threw gasoline on the fire of what I was doing, of what I was researching. And then
Because you
back
have a
then
better direction. Yeah.
oh yeah. So then I ran it was Great Plains then, now Mosaic. I don't know if Vibrant even had theirs. I use Vibrant now for mycotoxin testing, but I ran that and his mycophenolic acid, which should be under 5, was
My
535,
gosh, I've
which is
never
an
seen a
extreme,
500 for an
which is
MPA.
extremely immunosuppressive, right?
Yeah.
So I knew about the Lyme first, but the Lyme didn't come first. He stayed in his room. He had all this immunosuppression. We rented a cottage for a weekend. He got bit on the head by a tick, and his immune response was so low, it couldn't stop these infections from just going wherever they wanted in the body. Now all the pieces were coming together. He wasn't getting any better, but I was connecting the dots. We still had this son that I take him to the movies because he liked a movie. So we go to the movies, but then I'd have to carry him out like a baby at 11 years old now on the front of me with his arms around my neck. When he'd be having these mast cell flares and be so bad, I'd have to carry him up and down the stairs. But I'd be holding him and he'd be telling me to go walk softer. So I'm
Mm.
trying to go down the stairs, tiptoe, trying to pad every single step because his intestine was so inflamed from the mast cell flare, from the mycotoxins in his room, that he was that sensitive. And Allison is giving me PTSD because I'm remembering what happened at the
We
hospital
can,
now.
I don't know. We can
Can
move
we,
on to the happier
can we get a
part.
counselor? But what they would do at the ER is have him jump. That was one of their appendix tests. So they
Oh
would
no.
literally say, "Can you jump for me?"
And
And
he's
he'd
like,
jump.
can I not?
Yeah, and he would burst into tears. And then they would go tell the other doctors that this happened. Then the next doctor would come and say, "Can you jump for me?" And then he would just, this, no word of a lie. A third one came and said, "Can you jump for me?" And I said, "No, he's not jumping. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what's going to happen. He's going to be in a lot of pain and start crying and hold his abdomen, just like he did for the last two that asked him to jump."
Did you
Okay.
mention, and real quick, did you mention the movie theater because you believe the movie theater had mold in it, or was it something he
Yeah.
was eating in the movie
Yeah.
theater? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get moldy theater, same as our church. 25 minutes
Yes.
into church
Churches.
every week, all of a sudden I'd look down the pew and he'd be sitting there. Just see the demeanor
Oh,
change on his face. And he'd be starting to bend over and start to go like that. And I'm like,
yeah.
"Bud, do you need to go out?" He's like, and I didn't know. It took me too long. And it's frustrating as a parent, but we only know what we know. So because I work with so many parents, listen, do not beat yourself up. You
Mm.
only know what you know. And I started knowing nothing. I wish 2024 Matt could go back to 2018 Matt and say, "Oh my goodness, this sounds awful." He's got abdominal pain. He's got dizziness. He's got nausea. He's reacting to food. He's got stiff neck. So now I'm thinking Lyme. I would have said, 2024 Matt would have said, "Let's do an Ermi Plus on your home. Let's do vibrant mycotoxin. Let's do mosaic oat, vibrant gut zoomer, and vibrant tick-borne 1.0. And then I'll connect with you in 3 weeks." In 3 weeks, I would have said, "Hey, Matt, can you please get him out of the house? And can you start these supplements?" And it would have made life so much better. And, as
Yeah,
parents, we're like,
that's like a 1 month to like clarity with this
yeah,
with just getting the lab sample, getting the results, clarity, and then if you can get out of the house quickly and start taking the supplements, solution. That's like a 6 week thing right there of like
but
turnaround.
do you know how long this clarity took to establish though, Allison?
Yeah,
That's
it
the
sounds
problem.
yeah, because it sounds like at the 9 month mark, it was like there were around that time it was Lyme, and then it took even more time and money to get to the
Yeah,
mold,
it
basically
did.
by Lyme, the Lyme treatment failing to work. And you taught me this, and it's been great. And I actually talk about it in the episode that came out straight previous to this one, which is the mold Lyme connection and which one to treat first, and signs that you might have one or both, and all that. So, and you were the one I kind of like knew it, but you like double confirmed it.
Mhm.
Guys, and I already shared this in the beginning. I consider you that you have mentored me in some of what I know in mold and Lyme, and really given me confidence in areas I didn't feel as like, do
Mhm.
I know enough in this area? And then
Mhm.
clarified some things. And then boom, it's like suddenly it's not rocket science. As soon as you
Yeah,
understand how to treat these things, you can treat them, you can move forward. And you're
yeah.
doing that for so many people. So let's see. So you figured out it's mold.
Mhm.
What and did you get out of the house then, or what was the remediation process like? Did it
My
take super
office,
long, or what was
well,
going on?
it was before COVID, thankfully. So pricing wasn't like triple what it is now, right? So I had all the windows on the second floor replaced, which then I thought $32,000 was a lot. But if it was today, it'd be like 72,000, something stupid, right? But then I bought like on my phone here, an infrared FLIR camera for my phone because now I'm mold crazy, right? And you see this with people once they learn about mold, they're like, they think it's everywhere. So I'm checking now during a rainstorm, I'm checking and I see this pink line going down in our living room. And I come to find out that there's a water leak by that window, which I wouldn't have caught if I wasn't checking during a rainstorm. And by the way, back up, our mold inspector, which did air tests all throughout, said everything's fine. So there's
Air
no
test
worry on
guys
the
are
inspection
bad.
front.
Air tests are only good if they're
Very,
behind a wall in a very
yeah.
specific spot. They're very weak.
Cavity testing, wonderful. General air tests, if you have a problem show up there, you've got a massive problem. But
You
I
can
get
see
client,
it usually.
yeah. I've had people where their bathroom wall is just pure mold and the air test says everything's fine. So you have
Ooh,
people with giant obvious problems and it still checks out fine.
yeah.
And this is why that video 251 in my group, which is 200 or 25 reasons mold inspectors hate me, because I blow the top off this. And they literally have blood on their hands for keeping sick people in toxic homes by not understanding proper
But
testing,
because,
by
yeah.
not understanding health effects, and telling people it's fine when it's not.
And because we are ignorant as the buyers, initially,
Yeah.
we believe them. We don't realize
Yeah.
that they are,
They're the expert, right?
that they're taking money from us. Then maybe they're ignorant too. Like they might not be
Yeah.
even be malicious, but they don't
No,
realize that they are making the harm continue. Same with doctors. Like I find that
exactly.
most doctors aren't malicious, they're just ignorant. Hey, friend, do you feel like you're never properly digesting anything no matter how you change your diet? Have you spent thousands of dollars buying supplements, labs, and fancy functional or holistic practitioners to simply have no relief from your symptoms? Or do you just want to poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones without being dependent on medications? If so, I've got great news for you. You can stop the money hemorrhage that's happening around your health and finally get worry free health through the Gut Healer System. The Gut Healer System is my 2.0 upgrade to the former Better Belly method that consistently reduces our clients' symptoms by 80% in 3 to 6 months so that your health can finally feel easy. Our clients have gone from being stuck at home with fibromyalgia to watching their grandchildren's soccer games every evening, or they've been able to travel for work and pleasure without wondering the entire trip if they're going to become constipated and ruin their whole time. We've also seen clients get off of 40 plus years of medications that they've been on for acid reflux, constipation, and PMS, and stay off that medication without needing to be on lifelong extreme diet restrictions or supplements. I want you to be able to enjoy the holidays and family meals without fearing how you're going to feel afterwards or feeling guilty for what you do eat. If you are ready for this, head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to watch my free micro training to learn exactly how 600 plus of my clients have healed their gut even when nothing else has worked before. In this training, you're going to learn what your doctors are missing, even if they're functional or holistic, why no amount of food restrictions are going to heal your gut, the 5 toxin trap that is keeping you sick, how to heal your gut in the most affordable way possible, and the 3 steps to actually heal your gut. I can't wait to see you living a worry-free, optimal, healthy life. Head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to get started today. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, but they're
And
not open to learning. It's okay not to
that's a different
know.
problem.
It's okay not to know, but when someone brings something to you, at least consider it. Dig in a little bit. That's the problem.
So you
They
start
don't know what they
remediating
don't know.
you start remediating your house. Did you decide to stay in your house during most of this remediation? Like you'd never had a time where you like left and did
Yeah,
that?
so my office was in the backyard. We had a cabin in the backyard, which was turned into my office. So we moved Isaac out there, got all the windows done. But when I found that problem around that window during the storm, it
Yeah.
turned out that whole corner of the wall had mold problems all in there from new. And this is like 25 plus years old. Well, guess what? That's the corner that our girls are in.
Mm,
So guess what? Our one little girl's having pan symptoms. And
mm,
I didn't know anything about pans, right? So she would have these meltdowns where Amy and
yeah.
I would look at each other and it's like, is she possessed? Like, this makes no sense. She would scream for hours on end where all we could do is put her in her room and it wouldn't stop her. Like, she screamed so long, Allison, that she damaged her vocal cords. And for about a year, she had a raspy voice. Now, looking back, it was cute, the raspy voice, but the reason it was there and what we went through to that point made no sense.
Her brain
It
was
made
inflamed. Yeah, she was not a bad
exactly
kid. You weren't bad parents.
no, it just
She
didn't make sense.
could not manage what was going on inside her brain, which had nothing to do
Yeah.
with anything in her, like situationally, just
Yeah.
just
And so many
toxin.
parents, yeah, exactly. This is toxin induced. The child doesn't want to be like that. The parents are confused as to what's happening. Their family and friends and teachers are going, you've got a parenting problem, or this kid needs some drugs, and
Yeah.
which makes parents feel worse. So you have all these weights stacking on parents when it's a hidden problem in their wall, right? And then another daughter started complaining about her knees hurting, like she's at track and field or doing this or that, and her knees hurt. And I'm like, just run. What do you mean I don't remember how old she was then. She was under 10. I was like, you're fine, right? Well, come to find out that she had EDS,
Oh,
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome was activating, and it started with joint pain there. And then as she got to about 12, she's 13 now, but when she was 12, and estrogen starting to go up. Now she's getting all the mast cell symptoms from EDS because of the connective tissue disorder and all this connective tissue that's supposed to be firm and is like, it's like spaghetti,
people who know
boiled
EDS know
spaghetti.
it. If you don't know
Oh,
EDS, hopefully you never need to.
yeah. So then she ended up crashing horribly because she slept for 7 years against a wall that had all this mold and I didn't know about. So what started as this giant problem, then we just got another layer on, and we just got another layer on it, and it was crushing. It was crushing in every way, Allison, financially, emotionally, the stress of it, socially, not to mention all this, it's a now full-time job to try to supplement and figure out what's going on, and it became like a living nightmare. Okay, so let's count this as the bottom, okay? Because I don't want to stack anywhere on here. So then what do we do? Well, I replaced all the windows. I found that problem, and I couldn't even find builders or roofers that could find the problem. Again, I was like, I'm just taking it on myself now. So I'm pulling down the soffit on the wraparound porch. I'm taking the siding off the house. I'm pulling out the insulation. Finally, I can see where the water's coming in, how it's going across this way, coming down, landing on a window. It was ridiculous and complex, just like everything seems to be once you go down this path, right? So fix that problem up. And then I was like, okay, now we got to detox our little pans girl. And it's probably 6 months or so before we saw that come back down again. But
Wow.
if I hadn't learned about the mold, if we didn't deal with the problem, if we didn't know how to, about binders and liver support and all these things to start working on her body, that couldn't have happened. And then our daughter with EDS, she bottomed out a year or two ago because with the increasing estrogen, she was so bad. Our block out here, she couldn't even go a quarter of the way around the block. There's the point that she had to get crutches because her ankle's so bad. Her foot is involuntarily turning in now when she's walking, okay, because she can't control it. The joints are just going bad. And now she's got crutches. Well, now that's putting more stress on her wrists. So now she's got wrist guards because her wrists are bothering her. So I'm getting to this point where I'm looking at electric scooters, electric wheelchairs, all these horrible things, sitting here going, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe this is our life. I can't believe this is her life. And then I started digging in on EDS, and I had known about EDS from when I was researching on our son all those endless nights, and because
It
I
comes
saw,
up.
yeah, and I was like, okay, I think I know what this is. So then I'm going, okay, well now I know about ceruloplasmin and copper issues and all these different ways to start supplementing the body. And a friend of mine is a great doctor, functional doctor down in Tennessee at Keystone Total Health, and I took her there because he can do advanced energetic testing that I can't. So between us, we get her protocol dialed in. Slow and steady, these things start coming back. Now she doesn't have the crutches. Now she doesn't need the wrist guards and the knee braces and the ankle. And this summer she did track and field and she got a ribbon for triple jump, I think it was. And we've got a big trampoline in the backyard that she can jump for hours in the summer. So again, that was a win with her now. Now, do
I
we
mean, that's
still
a
have
huge
ongoing
win. Yeah.
it like EDS sucks, okay? If y'all don't know what it is, it sucks, okay? So you can do a lot, and we did a lot to do a lot of repair, and she's 90% better than she was, but we still have ongoing issues that we're constantly working on. And our son that went from totally devastated. Now we started, it's not quick, easy, cheap. It's none of those things. This is a short conversation, but this is a long journey through this. But we
Yeah, we're
started
collapsing a lot of
undoing this.
time.
Yeah, yeah. So now, like his food, Allison, we were down to probably 10 foods or so. Because as you know, the gut gets wrecked with a million things, but especially if you're breathing in mycotoxins, these are going through as antibiotic effects. You take Penicillium chrysogenum, which is the second last mold on group 2 on your ERMI, that makes penicillin, right? Another antibiotic compound. So when you're breathing that in, it's
It's like
constantly
breathing
working against your
antibiotics.
gut. Exactly. So his gut was so wrecked that I could tell what he ate by looking in the toilet. His digestion was shot. We started so far behind the 8 ball. We were buying bok choy. I didn't even say bok choy. I didn't even know what bok choy was. But we were like, what can this boy eat? So Amy's making bok choy stir fries, and he could have carrots and some celery, and he could eat watermelon, I remember. And it was so tiny, and it's so depressing for people when they get to this point. But let's fast forward to today. He can eat anything, and he does because he's 17. Okay. But he could eat a gluten pizza with dairy and have ice cream for dessert, and he'd be okay. Now, I don't recommend it, obviously, but just to show people that things can get so low, but with clean air and a proper protocol and having data, like I'm data driven. Like I said, if 2024, Matt, those are the base labs. And now if someone has PANS, I would add in the NeuroZoomer Plus. We didn't do that with our daughter because I didn't know at the time what was happening. And then we
Isn't
just
that
jumped
funny how
right
that
into
works?
detox.
Same in
Yeah,
my story. I was like, I didn't know that at the time, but I
yeah,
made it through.
yeah.
I'm still okay.
Yeah. And the journey that we went through, and again, our son, he's 17, he's I'm 6'2". He's 17 and he's just about 6'2". I just measured him. He's just a hair off me. But for a couple of years, he barely grew. You can look at
Yeah.
the growth chart and you can put your finger on when he was his sickest.
Yeah.
It's so easy to see, right? But through this, and he's come back. Now, does he still have sensitivity if he gets into a big moldy place? Absolutely, because he
Yeah.
was so damaged for so long. And are we still working on it? Yes, I hope to get it better. Okay. But he's come from, you know, 95% better to from unbelievably awfulness that you can't fathom is happening in real life. Like it's a nightmare to, he just tried on his school uniform. He's excited to go back. He's doing kickboxing and boxing and jujitsu and doing all these things in an old flat roof building, Allison, which is probably very moldy inside. It's like 1960s flat roof that looks like it's not kept up well, right? But it happens. And like our girls are going to a hybrid homeschool thing that's in the basement of our church, which I was just down there and it smells ultra musty, but we're putting in, technology to help with that in that room. And we're pushing forward with life because we've had this, we've learned so much. We learned about the labs to take, to run, to get the data, and then working on a protocol to start undoing the damage. And you just keep, it's not fun, it's not easy, it's not cheap. I tell people that straight up, it's not what you want it to be. It's what no, well, you'd never wish this on anyone because it's awful. But if you do the right things in the right order, you'll keep chipping away till you finally see that success. And we're able to live again. We're able to do things again. The kids are able to, go to school again. And like Isaac, he couldn't have any citrus. Okay, like drops of lemon would just blow him up. And what does he have now? When clementines are in season, he's making up for it. He literally takes like a big wood bowl and fills it overflowing with clementines and just eats it all and it makes no difference, and so people get so depressed, and I get it when things like this happen. But remember, there's healing. If you do the right thing, there's healing on the other side. You can push through this and get there.
And even if you don't know every step right away, even if you miss a step, like you started with Lyme, now we know you would say time to start with mold, but you still got
Yeah,
better. It's like
yeah.
it didn't like inhibit you, right? And so I just want to like that is why I wanted you to come on your story, and I loved getting to hear it again of like how bad it was, which you painted beautifully. We need to hear how bad it is because I think sometimes when you see someone who's on I would say mostly on the other side of the healing process, you think, well, it must have been easier for them. They must have had more money. They must have had more resources. They must have known more than me. Or he's a health practitioner. He just knew things. Like, no,
I knew
No, we
nothing
all
about molds.
pretty Dr. I don't know if you've heard Dr. Jill Krista and Dr. Jill Carnahan. They both
Yeah,
say something similar to this. They'll say mold, we did not choose mold. Mold chose us.
yeah,
Meaning like you don't go into
yeah,
this and being maybe some people will in future healing generations of
yeah.
doctors and health practitioners, Lord willing, but right now people only take it seriously because usually they get sick or someone they know
Exactly,
gets sick.
exactly.
So
Nothing drives your research like being sick or having a sick child. I
yes.
literally would be up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., research, research, research.
And the
And I
and
just
that
sat.
stuff, the crazy thing is the information's out there. Like
Yes,
like you
yes,
could
it's
find
there.
it. Like
Please
somebody
read it,
already knows about
doctors.
this.
I did not figure any of this out. I learned from smart people, from studies, from other people that have gone before me and figured these things out. And then I just kept building on it. And you know what? Like with my mold group on Facebook, nothing teaches you faster than having to answer thousands of questions. Like I looked at my stats in there and I'm answering over 1,100 people a month for free in there, answering questions. So I get asked everything. And again, because of my personality of wanting to dig so deep in this niche, that if there's something new, I love it because then it gives me something to research and find out so that I can help them. And now it's in my back pocket for helping anyone going forward that has that same thing. So nothing drives your knowledge like being responsible for helping 20,000 people with mold questions.
And what's beautiful for our listeners is that I've compiled, I think, some of my favorite resources that you have available in our show notes so they can just go and grab them. We have your Toxic Mold Answers Facebook group, which I've already referred
Mm,
to in multiple of our Mold Month series podcast episodes that are
mm.
before this episode. Matt has put together a like one of the most extensive mold toxicity quizzes that's on the internet.
Mm,
I have a link to that, and you can just find out based on your symptoms if mold could be affecting you or your family. He put together a mold proof your home masterclass, which you can get 10% off when you use the code BBT. And what I'm really excited about is you actually have a course that is going to be coming out very soon called Living in Mold, where it's like, what do you do right now when you're still
yeah.
living in it? And that's going to be released TBD, but it- we're going to put it in the
Soon.
show notes. It's going to be, yeah, soon. We're going to put the link in the show notes as soon as it's available. So, if you're listening to this in the future, lucky you, the link might already be there. Go check it out. Use the code BBT for 10% off. And then the last thing that I really want to highlight, and it's not all of Matt's resources by any means, but the last one that I love is you actually are working on a documentary of
Mm,
chronicling particularly your son's health
yeah.
journey. And it's called Healthy Young Man. And I put a link in the show notes. You guys can actually get a notification, sign up for a notification for when it's going to come out. And also, Matt has other stuff on that webpage, like his Instagram, his Facebook group. So go check that out, sign up for notifications, watch the trailer, which is also on that
Mm,
page. You get to see his son, see his family. It's he's got some experts on there that they show little clips of. It's really powerful.
mm,
I've seen it, and it's even part of how I knew I wanted to have Matt on today. But
mm.
aside from that, Matt, can you share as we're wrapping up here? I have two questions. So if someone is starting their own healing journey today
Mhm.
and they think that mold or Lyme is a part of their issues, where would you recommend they start? What would you recommend they just do next?
First thing I would do is the mold quiz at mold.org, just because it's such a question of there's so much second guessing when it's mold because nobody knows anything about mold illness or mold toxicity. It's like I've heard about mold, but could it really be mold? So if you go to mold.org and take the quiz, it gives you a percentage chance based on the common symptoms and those symptoms weighted towards likelihood with mold. So that's a good start. But if you want to get data driven, which I hope you do, um, then you do some testing, right? And the priority testing to me, and this is based on a lot of experience with people, including my own family. And I am not someone I'm not a fanboy. Okay. Like I go where the data is. Like, for example, I like Vibrant Mycotoxin Test best because it checks for the most mycotoxins. This isn't rocket science. If someone else checks for more, I'll switch to them. But when you have super high sensitivity with the most mycotoxins checked, I do the Vibrant Mycotoxin Test. If you want to check to see if you have mold growing in your gut, do you have aspergillus actually colonizing? Which now you can be creating mycotoxins from within, not just breathing from the water damaged building. Okay, so that's scary to think about. But how do we know? We don't know unless we do a test like that, which is a urine test, organic acid test. And you know about the gut zoomer. I love the gut zoomer because mycotoxins destroy the gut in everybody. This is why you see kids, if you've got a baby or toddler coming home to a house with chetomium in it, I also refer to chetomium as the PANS maker. It is such a bad mold. You see eczema, rashes, food sensitivities, food allergies, all these things. Let's get data on the gut because the gut gets wrecked, digestion gets wrecked, and then that has a million downstream effects. So you take something as simple as a mold problem in a house, and it just wreaks havoc on the complete body. So be data driven. That's why I do the mycotoxin. The gut zoomer. If you're worried about neuroinflammation, now you have those behavior issues. We do the neural zoomer plus, and then for the home, the ERMI plus, not the regular ERMI. The regular ERMI doesn't check for fusarium. If you ask me how many of my clients have toxicity, fusarium poisons, mycotoxins in their system, when I get their mycotoxin test back, I would say it's a probably close to 90%.
It's very
But if
high,
you,
yeah, for my
yeah,
my clients too.
it has so many, like just out of the vibrant mycotoxin test, which is 29, 10 of them are from fusarium. You got your three fumonisins, you got eniatin B1, you got zearalenone messing with hormones, you've got T2 and DAS. T2 is a bioweapon. Yeah, you got deoxynivalenol, like in passing utero from mom, nivalenol, DAS. You've got this horrible load of toxins. And then I look at someone's ERMI, but it's not the ERMI plus, and we have no measurement for fusarium in your home. So that's why I made up the ERMI Plus with three more additions added to it. So that's what I do with people. That's what I recommend. You can do this yourself. You don't need a doctor or a practitioner to start. You can order these labs and be testing your home. And I tell people to do your own ERMI Plus. Don't hire someone. And even the instructions that come from the lab report, they say take 10 swipes in a random place in your house. It gives you horrible results. I tell people this is the most, Allison, I'm glad we're going here. Because if I can share this far and wide, get age dust on your baseboard. I prefer 90 days because it takes time for spores to come out. And then you wipe every inch of every baseboard in every room. Because when you don't, your ERMI's artificially light. People that do it right, we get the data that explains their symptoms, why their family's sick. When you see what's happening in the home, when you see what's happening in the body, now you're set up for a protocol. If you're going on a journey, and you have your map, you have your directions, you have your stopping points, now you're prepared to leave. If the more prepared you are from the start, the more direct and efficient your journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all that because I yeah, I think people it can just feel like and I have the same answer, honestly, like, I say it slightly different, but data is the first step, is, like, you have
Yeah.
to confirm things, you have to quantify what are we exactly dealing with,
Yeah.
and I honestly give my own, like, if it's okay that I share this, I give my own three-step mold treatment plan back in
Mm,
episode, what is it, 223, and you can hear I
mm,
include some steps before. Like I describe very much what Matt described, but I describe it in a slightly different way. Go listen to that, and you can get a slightly different
mm,
way to hear things. And maybe as you hear more stuff, it'll keep clicking. You can
yeah.
build this map in your mind of how to heal. But okay, last question, Matt. If you could give any word of encouragement to someone healing from mold and Lyme today, what would you say?
Um, I would say that I feel you. I know how awful it can be. Like at the worst point of our journey, my prayers went to three words, Lord help us. I had nothing else in me. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what else I could try. We hit the low of desperation. But look what happened. The more I learned, the more I implemented, the better I tested, the better data I had, the more supplements I implemented. We started digging out of this hole. And to go from where we were to where our family is today, while not perfect, it's a beautiful change. It's just amazing. So have hope. If you do the right things in the right order, and that's why Alice and I share this. It's like this is a whirlwind. This is so overwhelming when people get in. But if you just follow these steps, you can get to where we did. I'd never dreamt that our family could ever hit such a low. But now we've come back and it's just unbelievable. So It's depressing. It's overwhelming. Anxiety is common with histamine. You've got everything working against you when you're in this, right? But know that it can get better. We were there. We felt it. We cried through it. It was awful, but there's hope. We came through it, and anyone else can too. It's awful, but you just need the knowledge. And that's why I love, Allison, that you're doing this, that you're focusing on mold, that you're putting all this information out there and raising awareness, because more people can learn, more people can take action, more people can advocate for themselves and get out of this hole. So have hope. It can be done. I wouldn't be smiling right now. I'd be crying right now. It can be done.
Amen. Amen. Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for giving your time today. Thank you for so much for just in general, like taking what you went through and then making resources out of it. Not everyone's called to that, but you took up the call. And as someone who's also creating resources for that, like it's a weighty call. It's a meaningful call. It takes time. There can be a lot of pressures on our end. So like, how do I make the perfect resource to help everybody? And you have just continued to chisel away at things and build things that are helping so many people. So thank you for coming on today, sharing your story, giving people hope who've listened to this. And I can't wait to have so many more people get to hear this episode and find hope and meaning for their future health and future lives.
I love it. Thank you.
Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening, you can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of, and you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.